What's going on, friends and neighbors? So for my birthday, my girlfriend got me a ticket to Dave Chappelle. They were really freaking expensive. I had really, really good seats. I was in Lodge One, I guess it's called. It's like down in the front. It's not on the floor, but it's up above that, which was way better. Do not get floor seats at the Garden. They freaking way overpriced, and they're just fold up chairs, and it's not good. But anyway, I was in the section one, seat 16, row 7 from the stage, basically, right? Like they had the floor seats, then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I was in seat number 16. So I'm here to tell you that what this guy says here, Andrew Margolis, is blatantly untrue. Okay, now let me qualify, right? Like I'm not pro-Palestine. I Hamas is atrocious. I'm not pro-Israel. Their treatment of the Palestinians has been atrocious. But the Palestinians, they do shit to the Israelis and the Jews and blah 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 blah. Right? It's a no-win situation. But what this man is saying is a lie, right? He says, "Hello, my friends. My first Facebook post in nearly 7 years. With that said, it is also the only social media platform I have. So I hope still use whatever. I don't care. I would like to share with you an experience I had last night with Allison, blah, 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 his wife, right? They went with several other couples, so there's 8 of us. What started out as funny and joyful event for the 8 of us ended with disgust and fear, which is, okay. So it says towards the end of his act, which it wasn't. It wasn't towards the end of his act. Chappelle mentioned the war in Israel. He said he's a Muslim, denounces Israel for its treatment of the people in Gaza, which is true, right? And then he said that it was terrible. It was a terrible attack from Hamas and yada yada yada, right? Like he was being pretty even keeled about it. He said, I don't really want to talk on this, but and then he didn't, and then like he kind of said something else about it, nothing major, right? And then this guy saying a gentleman towards the front yelled out, "You should shut the fuck up," which somebody did, but I think it was this gentleman and his friends, right? Because he's saying that a bunch of people left. They did not. I mean, maybe the crew he was with, the guy who yelled out, "Shut the fuck up." And then they left like cowards instead of staying and listening to what Dave said, right? And so it says, and Dave did yell out, like, "Don't tell me to shut the fuck up," blah, blah, blah. He didn't lose it on the man yelling. He did mention a couple times, he did say what the man says here. "You do not tell me to shut the fuck up at my show." And then it said, Chappelle then started on a tirade of his beliefs, leaving comedy behind and focusing purely on the politics, which wasn't true. Wasn't true at all. And so this dude, or broad, whatever the hell he is, he goes, "While this was awful in itself, what made my heart sink and started to invoke fear was when the crowd of nearly 20,000 people started yelling out, 'Go Palestine, go Hamas.'" Did not happen. 100% a fucking lie. This dude is fucking lying. It's 100% a lie. There might have been like a free Palestine out of a couple people here and there, but there was no chance. There was I didn't yell it, and I was one of the 24,000 people, and no one around me was yelling, "Go Palestine, go Hamas." Nobody. I mean, you could hear a couple people saying "Free Palestine," like like one or two here and there. That's it, and not all at the same time. Not in a chant, right? So he's lying, and he says, "Go Palestine." That people, the 20,000 people were yelling out, "Go Palestine, go Hamas," and other related hateful jargon, or he says here, hatful jargon. I don't know what hatful is, but whatever. And the audience was cheering Chappelle on during his tirade. I was sick. We were sick. I turned to my friends and wife and said, "I think it's time to go." They walked out well before anybody said anything. The guy yelled, "Go fuck yourself," or "Shut the fuck up," and him and his crew walked out, right? I mean, it was so minuscule amount of people that walked out, it was barely even noticeable. I just happened to be like up in that area where they yelled from, right? It says, "We walked out and met up with many other Jews leaving the show." I don't know, there was a couple of Jews next to me and they didn't leave. And he goes, "Never in my life have I felt so unsafe, so fearful of what I was witnessing." Like it was there's no way that he felt fearful or felt unsafe. I mean, unless it was all in his head. The words alone were horrific. He carries on. The words alone were horrific, but we were vulnerable in a public forum. How could we know what would happen? Could violence against the Jewish members of the audience break out? No, no, no. And then he goes on to say like this bullshit. Here in Boston, how is there so much hate for Jews? Well, there wasn't. There wasn't. Nobody called out. Dave didn't call out against the Jews or Israelis. You know, he said that both sides, you know, had issues. And he did say, you know, and I didn't agree with everything he said in his comedy, but it was funny. You know what I mean? And he did say that you know, it's a long, windy road with both of these peoples, right? And you know, he was saying that the treatment of the Palestinian people was messed up, for sure. But, you know, he also condemned what Hamas did. And he said, you know, if you can't look at your own government and go, hey, man, they're fucking up, then something's wrong, you know? And that's the thing about this, right? Like even if you try to have a discussion about Palestinians or Israelis or Jews and Muslims, and you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what side you come out on. The Israelis or the Jews will call you anti-Semitic if you're like, hey, man, you probably shouldn't be killing these people. Maybe you should talk with them and blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, so now you're anti-Semitic. And if you're like, hey, man, the Palestinians are fucking up too, you know, and the Muslims in the area, and then they're like, oh, well, you're a fucking racist, right? So it's a lose-lose situation. And the powers that be want it that way, right? Because that way they control the conversation. Nobody steps up to say anything because you get some guy like this, right, who makes up a story. Again, I was there. I was in section 1, right up front, you know, seat number, section 1, row number 7, seat number 16. This guy and his friends, I mean, they were the ones that yelled out the shut the fuck up. They were the ones who felt put upon, I guess, you know, and I'm not saying that they didn't feel this way. Maybe they did, you know, and who knows what that is, but that's not my point. You know, the whole point is they shut down the conversation. Then they didn't even stay to hear what Dave had to say about it. And then he goes online to make all this bullshit up. Nobody chanted anything. There was no tirade of people yelling and screaming or any of that. None of that happened. None of it happened. Some people might have said, you know, free Palestine in the beginning when Dave said something, but I'm talking like 2-3 people with really cheap seats because they were way up high. Like, believe me, it did not happen as this guy's saying. You know what I mean? He's playing the victim. And he wants people to hate Dave Chappelle for whatever, because he had a conversation about the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians and what Hamas did, right? He didn't praise the Palestinians. He didn't praise Hamas. He definitely didn't praise the Israelis. You know what I mean? He even said, like, I wish the man didn't leave. Right? Because the man left right after that. He said what he said, like, you know, and then turned tail and ran away, basically, before Dave could even address it. You know what I'm saying? It didn't happen the way this guy's saying it, the way that the papers are reporting it. It's bullshit. I was there, you know? And this is how they control the narrative on anything, you know? If you say something, you're either anti-Semitic. If you say anything against the Israeli government, and if you say anything against the Palestinians, you're a fucking racist, right? It's a lose-lose situation. And, you know, I didn't agree with everything that Dave said. I mean, he had a lot of funny jokes, you know, there was a lot of funny stuff in there. And not all of it did I agree with, but it was funny. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know how many times they called Boston racist. I mean, it was that was the big thing. You know, that was more of a thing than anything about the Israelis or this and that. They made joke after joke. Each comic made joke after joke except for Dan Cook, about how racist Boston is and how fat Boston is. I mean, there was a funny joke. I forget if Dave said it or someone else, but they were like, Boston. It's a racist town where the only racist town where you see 2 white people arguing over what kind of white they are, which was pretty funny. You know what I mean? Because I have seen that happen in Boston. I'm not Irish. Everybody always thought I was Irish, and I'd get into arguments with people. I ain't Irish, motherfucker. But anyway, yeah, it didn't happen like they're saying. It's bullshit. This just puts another nail in the coffin of mainstream media for me. You know what I mean? Like. People can't even have a conversation. Like, have a conversation. Stop being so fucking frail. God damn, man.